Hi everybody, it's Peter. It's been a while. That's going to come up in the next little part anyway. So just a quick thing before we jump into the up-and-coming video. I just wanted to do a quite quick intro. A couple of things. I'm actually filming now with my phone. This is a Samsung S4. And the other day I invested in a selfie stick. This is a nice one because I didn't want that, but it's spring-loaded. So it actually clamps on nice and you're not going to lose the phone. I got it for the simple fact is because if you just have it hooked up with your camera, we all know how to use a selfie stick by now, I think especially all you millennials out there, it's great. You're just, hey, I'm gonna film, if I can film myself, and you just hold it like as if you're using it as an extension of your hand. So we're going to go ahead and we'll see the footage of what I filmed, and basically it's filming of a new case I bought, the Thermaltake Core V31. I just bought it a couple of days ago. I did the build mostly yesterday, mostly last night around this time, and I did some follow-up videos, and I'm going to do a conclusion after of what I thought about the whole thing. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, it's Peter, and I know it's been a while since probably August, September, since I did the Savvy Sexy Social vlog every day, or in my case I was vlogging every other day. So I figured it was time. I was going to do something the last couple of months. I was going to do a movie review when Rogue One came out and other things, but stuff gets in the way or you just don't feel like it. So I figured, you know what, I finally bought a new computer case. So I'm going to show you what my rig is now and what it's going to turn into. All I'm really doing right now with the computer case is just going to swap it out and show you some of the gear I picked up. Like right now you can't see, but I will show you. I actually picked up from Best Buy a nice little $25 selfie stick. I'm not going to use for selfies, but I thought this would be great for your, since my camera is still a lower res and my phone is actually 10 times better than my actual digital camera, use this. And I found it a neat thing last fall as well, is that smartphones actually, you can put additional memory in. Because I thought, what's that extra little spot for? And why doesn't the memory that comes with the phone have enough? Well, I bought 32 gigs of RAM, which wasn't, not RAM, but a micro SD card, and stuck it in there. Now I got all sorts of room. So we're going to see how much film I can get, filming I can do with this. I'm going to show you what the rig looks like prior to, which actually I cleaned up really nicely the last little while. And I'm going to show you afterwards what it all looked like. But I'm not going to do a put together, because there's so many of those right now. There's Paul's Hardware, there's Kyle's, Bitwit. So there's, and not Linus, everybody knows Linus. So I mean, there's all these guys doing all this stuff. Why do I have to do it? I mean, by now, if you're watching something in computer building, I hope by now watching everybody, I just don't need to be somebody else. But I just want to show you what I've been up to. I'm still running on a 4-year-old system. So knock on wood, it's still hanging in there. And I've added some new fans, some new cooling I didn't have before. So I'm going to show you now what I have and what I'm working towards. So yeah. Oh, the other thing too, new magnifier specs, but these are actually cool because they're like Mission Impossible glasses. There's a LED light on each one of them, which is great because I don't need to wear glasses anymore, but these come in handy because then for close range, I still need these puppies. And instead of me going with a flashlight, like what's going on in the box, or like in this case, what's going on inside the computer case, I can actually use these with both lights on, and I can see what's going on really well, because this room is the room I work out of. I don't have a designated space. I don't have a designated area, as I will show you. I just have basically minimum desk work to work with. So let's show you a bit around the room again. You can see what's going on with my study. Okay, and we're back. So a bit of a quick tour of my room. So as you can see, this is my only work area. This is where I used to do my modeling and that sort of thing. That's about all I really have. Like I said, I don't have a designated work area. And there's the current rig in question. So at Christmas, I bought myself a new present. I've got myself a Logitech G61. I'm not keen on the RGB, since everybody's doing RGB, even though I do have now LED lights on my fans inside the computer. But I really need it because this area, I don't have a lot of lighting, and the main light is actually behind where I'm filming right now. And the only other light I have is that LED light just to light up the corner. There's enough lighting that I can see during this time of the day, And this is a, like most LEDs, you can go, 4 levels of lighting, which is great. I usually just leave it on number 4, the lowest. As you can see, I'm still rocking a Logitech G13 gaming pad. The only downside on that too is I wish they actually back in the day would have the lighting that you have on this keyboard and then there instead of just like one single backlit and go from there. So, and I still have my Logitech 24-inch. It's a VX2453, which is still great. I think that's also on the 4-year mark. There's my Behringer mixing board. Now I can actually use my Lavalier Audio-Technica lapel mic, which is great. And down there, I have a also Logitech, a MX 518 ports work. But let's just take a moment and I'll break out the case and then we'll show you what I'm working with. And we're back. Okay, so I've set up a little area to show off the Thermaltake. So you've all seen this. It's got the beautiful grid pattern. You've got your I/O ports. You have microphone, headphones, reset button, which is a little hard to get at, but you can either just use your fingernail or go with a screwdriver. Hard drive, indication light, power button, 2 USB 3, yay. And like I said, your 5 1/4 inch bay, 3 1/2 or 5 1/4. As you know, the front case comes off. You've got the Thermaltake logo that everybody knows about. And you've got the punched out side panels. So this is all basic. Also, the other nice thing here too, which is pretty good, is a magnetic dust filter that comes off. And as far as I know, there's also all sorts of room on the top. So you can put, if you're a water cooling bug, I'm totally air cooling because knowing my luck, I would go water cooling and everything would leak. But as you can see, grooves along here, so you can put whatever size fan you want, 120s, 140s, 240 radiators, 440 radiators, however big and when you want to go. So let's take a look at the other side. Give me a moment. Okay, and as you know, it's windowed. We got the plastic on, which I'm not going to take off until I'm finished. And around the back, you've got a 120mm fan installed, I/O port, like everybody knows. You've got 7 expansion slot, power supply goes in the bottom. The other thing I've heard too, which is nice, and this is going to take a while, I'm not going to do it, but it is self-capturing thumb screws. Back panel also comes off, so you can do your wire management and put in your drives. So let's take this puppy apart, and we'll show you the inside real quick. Okay, it took me a while to fiddle around and get the case on. What's the nice thing is that as I mentioned earlier, that the thumb screws are captured. There's 2 SSD brackets. There's one here on the back. You can put one here, and you can put one here, or you can put one here and here. And there's the thumb screw connectors here. As it's not as spacious, but there is the bulge, like I said, so you can crank down your cable management. However, that's a very small groove. See, I can only get my pinky in there, so we're probably talking about maybe 1/2 inch to maybe 3-4 centimeters, because luckily I have my magnetic. I bought a couple of these from a local auto parts store. Magnetic tray that I actually saw that Parl Hardware and some of the other guys use. So while we're back here too, here's a side view of the mounts for your optical drives or whatever else you want to put in here. Like I said, lots of room. Nice too. I wish you figured, this is the funny thing too. 2 rubber grommets, but we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes. I mean, you figure for a couple of bucks, and there's another hole here. So you've got all these extra holes, but they'll give you 2 rubber grommets. One for, power supply coming out here, and one for, what would it take them to put, and especially when I was looking online for, US price, not even $5 for replacement grommets. So the money they could have spent on there, you could have grommet, what the heck. Nice big opening for your, if you need to mount a CPU cooler from the back end. I'm actually using a Cooler Master Hyper TX3 Evo. My concern from last summer was lack of some fans. And speaking of fans, as you can see here, there's a nice Provider 120. If you go from the other side, there's another Provider 120. I'm probably going to maybe switch these. I do have two LED 120s. I've already taken the thumb screws out of the back for the drive cage. The drive cage actually comes out, so if you want to put a radiator in here, or radiator, depending where you're from. These are also thumb screw mounted. I didn't take those off because I will be using them, but all of these parts are removable and it's modular, which is nice for its price. The other thing is too, even though it is a flimsy, as you can see here, if you bit of a wow in the metal, but no sharp edges. Everything is rolled, so it's not sharp, even though my case has some rolled edges, but all these ones are actually, they've actually nicely, see, you don't have to, you can't even slit your wrists on this puppy when you're trying to work on here, because I was actually getting some pretty bruised up knuckles in my other case. As you know, PSU mount, extra fan. There's actually a picture online of this case with fan. I think 3 fans along the top, another fan here, another one on the bottom, 2 in the front, or actually you can even put 3 in the front if you just want to go totally fans. I/O port connectors, USB connector. Most of you guys are going to know all this stuff. So I'm going to put everything away. I'm actually going to take a moment to show you my rig as is. Bing. Also forgot to mention, these were zip tight inside. This is all your mounting. It's actually 2 brackets for an adapter when you're doing a 3.5-inch drive. So those adapters in there, there are actually tracks for mounting when you're putting in your drive, which actually slides out. This is actually plastic, which I don't like, but, and it's all toolless. This is actually a toolless mount. I will probably show you later on how that works, because there's only 2 mounts, but I'm actually working with 3 SSDs and one mechanical drive. So we're going to utilize the space in the way I want, in my case, my rules. Also, this was in the book, and here is your manual in at least 20 different languages, mostly pictures. I actually do have the PDF going on, so let's take a look at my other case. Okay, so here's the case currently that I'm working with. This is a Antec Sonata. I took the front door off. I showed you the front already. I'll show you a couple of things I bought. I don't know if I'm going to be using this or not, but I thought this was a good idea at the time. This is a icy cool combination SSD mount and 3.5-inch bay on the bottom that you can use in your 5.25-inch bay. So you could mount something like, I was looking at getting an optional, depending on the type of case I was getting, if I couldn't get proper access to the front of a USB and audio ports in the front, you can actually put an adapter in here, or you can put an optional hard drive. There is actually a toolless design for putting in your 2 SSDs. As you can see here and here, you basically push them in. And what was really neat about this, I liked, this is sort of like the Corsair connection, similar on when you're looking at the spec cases. You have, this is the only thing that holds it in. So you push it in, it's spring loaded, it will hold the drive nicely in place. I may do a demo of that later on. But as you can see here, it's kind of hard to see, but there it is. There's my 2 Kingston drives on the Corsair bracket. That is an Intel I bought a while ago. It's just a 60 gig. Right now, I'm just going to run as a backup, and in case I want to run some older files, Windows 32-bit. There's my Seagate Barracuda 1 terabyte. I might invest in a 2 terabyte because there's $100 Canadian right now for 2 terabyte. I know it sounds like a lot to everybody. And it's a spare tray. The other thing nice about this tray too, this tray actually did mount. Once I take this out, but I'll show you. This one I have the screws out, but actually there are mounting screws and rubber grommets to hold it in place for cushioning. But actually those screws did line up with that, so that mounts to there, so I can put it all together, which is kind of neat. And it's great if you're, like I said, if you're old school like me, you're still using an older case. As you can see, this is still silver. We're going to do this guerrilla style. Okay, now we got our flashlight using as our flash light on the camera. It does not want to work. That's the cooler match I was talking about. I actually installed a secondary fan here. So actually I'm doing all the air this way. So all my airflow going from here to here to here is all going that way. Unfortunately, there's no fan in the front, but that will be resolved. In the other case, I'll be able to cool off the drives and cool off the case. Asus, I say Asus, you say Asus. ROG Strix RX 470 with 4 gigs of RAM. There's the other fan. Again, hard to tell. But there's only a stick of 8 gigs of Kingston RAM too, so I'm a bit of a Kingston fanboy as well. And just some modifications because I like using a lot of USB devices. There's a company in the Toronto area called StarTech. They make all sorts of modular things. That's just for 2 USB ports in the back because I only have 6. And you can barely see in there, but just above the video card is a D-Link USB 3 adapter as well that I bought years and years ago. Still works fine. So because I'm running about 9 to 10 devices, I've got a USB cable running here. So this is somewhere I can just throw my phone real quick and show you, but I'm using the phone. And I've got my printer over there. I've got a scanner over here. So everything is using USB, USB, USB. So I figured, you know what? More USB, the merrier. So presently, oh yes, and this is an Antec high, what is it called? It's an HCG 750 watt. I used to have a 500 watt, but then I was having problems a couple of years ago with doing video editing and the computer kept dying. So that's when I upgraded my rig back in 2013. Yeah, so I'm going to keep that, but eventually I'm going to switch over to a EVGA, probably a 750 as well. And what I like about that is it's actually a 10-year warranty on those puppies. Now you see what I'm working with here, and I mean, it's still not a bad rig where you figure for something that's 4 years old. I'm going to keep working with this, transfer all that into the other case, and then down the road, I'm looking at going with a Z170 Asus, the Gaming Aura. I know 270 just came out this year, but when you're on a budget, and also I learned a long time ago from a local tech guy that said basically whatever you're thinking about, go about 1 or 2 steps below that. But anyway, we're going to take all this, we're going to throw it over there. I have no idea how it's going to take me. Okay, kids, it's only 1:38 in the morning. Again, I don't have school, so as you can see, I've put it all together. I didn't rush. Most of the work is in the back. I can show you afterwards, but what I was able to do, I wanted to mount my double drive, which I should have taken out, which is a dual layer SSD mount. But actually what I did was I stuck it in one of these bays. Some of the things I'm not so great about because like this, I had to double up this cable for the graphics card. You can see it's semi-neat for the SSD cables. I'm still running SATA 3. My next board is going to be told it's SATA 6, but again, that's way down the road. And I swapped out the Thermaltake fans and I put in the Corsair fans I had before just to give it some color. And because also I am limited to fan headers, I only have enough headers for front and rear fan, CPU fan, and auxiliary fan. But what I really like is I was actually able to fit all the cables in. There's the, if you can see at the top middle here, there's your 8-pin for the CPU, which actually fit in quite nicely. I did have to remove the fan when I was putting everything in. The other thing that was the longest thing too was trying to, it does come with pre-mounted motherboard mounts. Those are the fans I'm not going to use, but I may reuse them because, I mean, you can mount, like I said, you can mount here. You can go 1, 2, 3 fans. You can put another fan here. I've already got one there. If you want to water cool, well, you just blow all this away here. You just take all this out since nobody uses optical drives. And and you can take all this out, and it's totally great for water cools. Okay, one more other point. I know a lot of people put this out about the Thermaltake case is, as you see here, I took out, this is the bottom dust filter, which when you figure the top one magnetically adheres to the top, you would figure, even though you would have to turn the case upside down, most cases actually will have a sliding mechanism that you can grab from the back. This does not. This basically, if you see, there's hooks. You would have to turn this thing topsy-turvy to take out, I mean, it's a nice filter. It's a nice piece of metal, plastic, or whatever it's made out of. So it's not flimsy and garbage, but it is a pain. As you would figure, you'd have to stop, rotate your case, flip it upside down just to get into here to take all this out. So, and that I'm not impressed with at all. Even though I don't have a modular power supply, I was actually able to take all the cables, and even though the base for the drive cage is not removable, I was actually able to scoot the wires underneath. But my next power supply is going to be the EVJ G2 750 watt, which is going to be modular, which is great because I've got about half a dozen cables of this that I don't really need. I was actually able to get away with two SATA cables for, I actually ran one to the Blu-ray DVD-ROM, and then in the back, which is mounted back here, is the my third SSD, and actually I was able to twist the cable into the back, but I'll do a video of the back of how everything looks after. Okay, just some of the other features here, again, as I mentioned before, with the drive cage. And the other thing I wanted to show off too is this Corsair double mount I have. So I now have my RMA 480 on the bottom and my new 240 on the top. But I mounted it into the hard drive tray, and it just goes in. Okay, call me a liar. Goes in nice and neat. Never mind. Okay, so this is day 2. So this is the back end of the Thermaltake Core V31. As you can see, I have my 60 gig SSD mounted. It is a little trickier. I did have to squeeze the cabling in. But it does route the wirings quite nicely. There are some downsides, like the 8-pin CPU cable is only so long, so it's coming from way down here and then all the way up and around. So you're kind of limited. I would have liked it if the cable was long enough to come around. I mean, you can get extender cables, that kind of thing, but I'm just working with what I have, with the budget that I have. And also the other downside is too, if you do have the hard drives that are mounted in the cage, you do lose this space a bit here, because the other mount for the SSD is supposed to go down here in this area, but that won't fit. So the other alternate is you can actually put an SSD mount here, and you can put the other one up in here with the connecting thumb screw. This mechanism is a little trickier because it's not the same as the one on this side. This one, you just put in one thumb screw that way. There are 2 hooks that clip into here. This works on the reverse. You're actually flipping the case the other way around. There are 3 holes in this side, one normally for the thumb screw if you're using it on the other side. But there's actually 2 little hooks here that you clip into that holds it on that side. And then you attach little feet to the ends that normally clip on the other side. You actually put in 2 little hooks that hold down and apply pressure from this end onto the 2 little feet, and then use the thumb screws here and here to tie it down into place. I mean, it's a good idea, but there are some things too, like I did have to actually attach both the power and the SATA cable prior to finally tightening down, because it is a tight fit and there is a bit of a rise of a piece of metal here as part of the framework. But overall, for like, again, $100 Canadian, this is still sort of would be considered a budget case, but for what it is, like I said, it's not too bad. I do have some of the complaints I will be posting along with everything else. And we're going to put this all into one neat little bundle. The other downside is too, if you can see here, I actually did have to put, even though this is toolless on the other side, it did not hold properly on the catch. So, but you do have the option, at least three, yes, there's at least 3 screws here and 3 screws here. So if you wanted to go old school, and you have the screws here as well. So if you do want to, if it's not holding in place, you do have the option of mounting it manually with screws onto the case. I keep a box full of screws that I've accumulated over time because there are sometimes too, even though it's toolless, there is a point 2 on the tool list that I will point out in a follow-up video as well on my conclusions. But as you can see, it's not too bad. I'm going to attempt putting the case on and see how it goes. But I don't want to put the back panel on here. I mean, you do have the punch out to hold it out, but it was almost like sitting on your luggage case to put it into place. But still, overall, not too bad. My other downside, I might have said this before too, but in here too, there's basically just a fingers width groove, just enough to put in one small cable, but some of the other cables you can only tuck in. So luckily, because of the punch out, you can get the space that you need. I was going to use self-releasing zip ties, but they were a bit of a pain, so I still have Velcro ties that I have put in here, here, and here to hold everything down nice, flatten against the case. So, I mean, you don't see it, but, you know, like some of us, we're OCD. We want everything nice and neat, even though you're not going to see it. And it's not like some of the newer cases where you do have a, glass back to show it off. But overall, I think for what I'm getting is still good, but there will be nitpicks in the conclusion. Stand by. Okay, and we're back. So conclusion time. So what I found is the Thermaltake is actually a pretty good case. As I stated a few times, it was $100 Canadian before tax. A couple places like New Egg Canada was selling a little bit cheaper, but I bought it at a local place. And it's pretty good. Overall, as I pointed out, it is flimsy in parts because I had the Antec Sonata before, which is a nice, good, strong case. But 4 years ago, that was about $150 with tax. It's still a good case, but really bad for airflow. It's actually the Sonata is designed for silence. A couple other small points too. I noticed that there's supposed to be an LED light to show that the power light is on. It actually is a little circle, but you only can look at it straight on. I have my case just right over here, so glancing over, I just see a black face. I don't see, oh, is the power on? Other than the lights of my LEDs on the fans, and I can hear the fans going, and I can hear the hard drive every once in a while doing its thing. There's also, speaking of the hard drive, there's also a hard drive LED light, which is a red color, but again, it's too far recessed. It's a very small pinhole, and unless you're looking dead on at the front of the case, you can't tell it's on. Another minor point too, that the top has a magnetic dust filter, which is great. The problem is it shifts. The magnet's not very strong. Put your hand on top of it, it shifts. So the magnet is not as strong as I would like it. A couple other things too, real quick. Oh, but I think that flew off. Yes, it did. When I was talking about the hard drive and how you can just put it in and you have the pins here going to the side. Well, they go into here and they match up with the holes and they click in. But what I found was this little pin here actually fell out. I mean, it snaps back in, but when I was trying to remount the case, and I thought, well, that's no good when you're doing something like that. So another little minor flaw. And again, too, flimsy plastic. It does hold the drive nice and neatly, and luckily the drive cage is, thin steel, so it holds everything up. I don't have the other thing here. I was going to show a picture. I can dig this out real quick. I don't know if I can get this into frame or not. But if you can see, this comes with the Asus case. This was a nice thing too. This is an extension adapter, which is great. So you basically put all your front panel connectors on this, and you mount it on your motherboard. Luckily, there's enough maneuvering room now with this particular case, but when you have a smaller, tighter case, it comes in handy when you're trying to mount it. Another downside is the user manual. I mean, it comes in multiple languages, that kind of thing, but myself, I mean, I now have 20/30 vision after getting my eyes fixed, but look at that type. I basically had to put, okay, I'm an older fellow. but I'm not sure if a millennial with 20/20 vision would be able to read something like this. That was another downside as well. But overall, I am happy with the case. It is, even though there's lots of aeration to go through, front panel is open, even though there is mesh behind it, that kind of thing. I think it does a really good job, and it's just a matter of actually how quiet I make the fans. I use Speed Fan. I learned that from Jay's 2 Cents, and I use that software now. And sometimes I will use the Asus A1 suite software as well to help monitor and reduce fan speed. So, and I did measure it, and measures about between 25 and 30 decibels, which is not too bad. I might be able to get it quieter, but before it was noisier. But I mean, like, how quiet is quiet unless basically you have a fanless system, and even if you have water cooling, you have pump noise and that sort of thing. So overall, like I said, pretty good case for what you're paying for. Maybe down the road too, I may upgrade the case, but I think this case will do me fine. It actually fits in the space I need. It does have a a plastic window side panel, so you can see the inside if it's set up in a particular space. So overall, it was pretty good, other than the minor faults. But again, what people say is, like, when you're paying less for something, when you figure like a half decent case is about $80 to $100. Once you start getting into the 140 to 150 range, then it's slightly better. But again, you have to pay the tax on that. And things like, say, the Be Quiet 800 series in Canada goes for $200 before tax. So that's a bit much. So I hope you enjoyed what I did. Remember the drill, that hit the like and subscribe. If my links will be down and below. And hopefully I get back on the wagon again, and we're going to start doing some more vlogs. So thanks for stopping by, and see you in the next one.